Consideration and approval of minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to review? If you have, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Speaker, looking for a second. Second by Vice President Wilburn. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Aye. Motion's passed. Item 2, consideration and possible approval of additional interim committee days. Melissa.
All right. Thank you, Chairman, and JG sends his regards. He is busy with our CRE main meeting, so you'll be hearing some more about our estimates this afternoon. You have 2 meeting requests. The first of the 2 is for an additional day that comes on behalf of the chairperson of the Joint Committee on State Building Construction. The LCC had previously authorized 2 meeting days and permission for 1 day of travel. The committee submits a request for an additional 3 meeting days. Would you like me to review the second?
Yeah, go ahead.
The second request is from the chairman of the Joint Committee on Information Technology. The LCC had previously authorized 4 meeting days. The Joint Committee submits a request for 1 additional day. It notes that 1 meeting day was used to address a security incident with the judicial branch, and an additional committee work remains that needs to be addressed.
All right, thank you, committee. Is there discussion on the item? Here's my understanding that the request was basically for 1 additional day for the 2 committees. Senator Sykes.
Thank you for that joint committee. What was their original ask when they asked? Because I know we didn't allot all of the days, but 3 additional days seems like a lot if that is what they're asking.
Original request was for 5 days, and in talking with committee staff, there are a couple of 5-year plans that remain, and a change order that does require review. It's above the statutory threshold of the $125,000, and a couple of other statutory matters.
Further questions? Speaker.
So when I was talking with our with our chair on our side, I thought he was just needing 1 additional day. I didn't know he'd asked for 3 additional days. So I'm with you. I was planning on authorizing 1 day.
So I'd be interested in a motion to authorize a day for each if you're interested.
I'll move that we authorize 1 day for each.
And motions, second by Senator Sykes. And by the way, I do believe I have Majority Leader Alley, Majority Leader Croft, and Pro Tem Carpenter online. So I'll slow down a little bit for you guys to vote. So, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 3, consideration approval of temporary session staff pay. We'll go to Tom.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the annual session employee pay schedule. You have a memo in front of you. The 2024 position and pay schedule for the legislative employees, the temporary session staff. The pay matrix indicates salaries reflecting increases similar to those received by the state employees on July 1st of 2023. That is approximately 5%. And what I did was took the pay scale, changed the office assistant pay, which was $15 an hour, put the 5% to that amount, made it $16 an hour for an office assistant, and then changed all other salary ranges by that same percentage so that every salary range went up by approximately 5.0%. And that is the pay range that is on the second page of the memo. And it's on the backside of page 1. And so, I'm sorry, it's on the fourth page. And it's the salary range of the office assistant is range 18. And you'll see on that salary schedule, it is $16 an hour. But everything above and below that salary range 18 changed by approximately 5.0%.
Questions for Tom? Speaker Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have a couple of questions. about our session staff. I know the Senate President and I and some others had talked earlier in the session, clear back in the session, about the fact that this next year, we need to make sure we have a temp agency that is going to, I thought we were going to have them run the whole system for us. Is that not the case?
That is not the case at this point. That was not ever given to me to do for this session, but we do have 3 temporary agencies that we work with to bring in staff once we figure out how many we do need. Right now, we are still bringing in all the applications through the end of this week, and then next week we will see where we're at, and then have to go out to the, if we have to go out to the temporary agencies to fill more gaps. 3 of them are big names here in town, Key, Adecco, and there's a third one. And so we do work with them every year, anytime we have shortfalls in temporary staff.
You know, this last session, it got pretty frustrating, pretty difficult there at the start, getting everybody in and getting them in the right places. And so I really want to see that a lot smoother than what it was this last year.
Right now, we are sitting very good with the number of applications that have come in, including new applicants. I think we have already processed 16 or 17 new applications, new people applying for those positions. And so we're hopeful that that continues. We've put word out, we'll be putting word out for any returning staff or new staff to bring in friends. We've also put out a notice to the Kansas Education Association. There will be a notice out on Facebook, and we may put one out on the state jobs board too. We got very little response last year when we put it out on the state jobs board, but we also depleted all 3 of the temporary staffing agencies from the people that they had within their database for this type of temporary position as well. So we depleted it. They kept backfilling. We would go back out after more. So, I mean, it's the same as any other agency or any other company or jobs trying to fill positions. The applications are not what they used to be.
Mr. President, I move we accept the proposal to increase the session staff pay according to the exhibits provided us.
I have motions there, second by Senator Sykes. Discussion? Seeing, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4, consideration and approval of legislative agency budgets. Melissa.
Thank you, President Masterson. Committee members, I will be addressing the budget request in the order in your packet for legislative research, the legislature, the Legislative Coordinating Council, legislative post audit, and then Gordon will be addressing the Office of the Revisor's proposed budget. Would you like me to review both the revised fiscal year 24 budget and the estimate together, or would you like to pause between the two?
Personally, I'm good together. Does anybody have an objection to that? We'll move together.
Excellent. The first budget up is the KLRD budget, and you will see on the first page an overview box which includes the amount requested and the amount approved by the legislature. That difference you see, the 154,731, is the pay plan adjustment authorized by the 23 legislature. The revised budget for fiscal year 24 represents a decrease of $188,931 below that approved amount and includes appropriations. The amounts have been adjusted to reflect current expenditure patterns and reflect those expenditures necessary to accommodate staff separation costs, fund limited promotions, and funding for a university economist during the CRE process, as well as make updates to fiscal and research database infrastructure. At the bottom of page 1, you will see some of the reasons for the adjustments in salaries and wages, and those include fully funding all positions, the most current calculation for the longevity bonus payments for certain employees, limited salary increases for those promotions of staff on the career ladder, and the current calculation of fringe benefits associated with all staff positions. And you will also see the revised budget includes funding for those staff requirements and the pay plan shortfall. In terms of other operating expenditures, the amount budget is $50,000 above the amount approved by the legislature for the fiscal year 24 budget. The next section addresses the agency's FTE positions. You will see that that number remains constant for both the revised fiscal year 24 and for 2025. And the staffing configuration is shown for the 41.0 FTE positions. You will note that we have a few temporary non-FTE positions, and those currently include our legislative fellows. For fiscal year 25, the agency's budget request is $5.2 million, which is $341,629 less than our revised budget estimate for fiscal year 24. And that funding request eliminates the funding that had been directed toward the redistricting effort and reduces funding due to employee separations. The fiscal year FTE count then is again noted, and I would note then finally there is a complete summary of expenditures and FTE positions on page 3, and those headers should reflect the fiscal year 23 actual in the revised 24 and the regular 25 budget request.
Questions? Seeing none?
Okay, the next budget, and I will defer some of these questions to Tom Day, is the budget of the legislature. Again, you will see the similar fiscal year 24 overview, and you'll see the amount that was requested and approved. You will see that difference, which is primarily, it is constituent services software that there had been money appropriated for, as well as the salary pay plan for the legislature's budget. And the revised budget for fiscal year 24 is $1 million, or 3% below the fiscal year 24 approved budget. The budget request lapses $317,000 state general fund from the budget and $712,169 state general fund from the ks budget. You will see a review of salary and wage changes. They're similar in the fully funding all positions, the most current calculation for longevity bonus payments, limited salary increases for promotions, leadership transitions, and the current calculation of those fringe benefits associated with those positions. For fiscal year 24, legislative salaries remain budgeted at $88.66 per day. The legislator subsistence allowance for the current year is $166 per day, and that rate has been effective since August of 2022. And the non-session legislative expenses remain at the current biweekly amount of $354.16. For other operating expenditures, that budget is $399,783 more than the approved amount for fiscal year 24. You can see some major adjustments there, including information systems consulting, computer software and equipment, increased travel and expenditures and postage, and increased expenditures for temporary staff. The amount budgeted in fiscal year 24 also includes funding for the entire ks modernization project, and that is phase 1. And there's some other adjustments that are both increases and decreases that are minor. For fiscal year 25, that amount of the request is $25.4 million. This is $7.9 million below the revised budget estimate for fiscal year 24. The majority of this reduction reflects ks expenditures, which were previously appropriated and are expected to carry over. The request also includes continuing the 6.0 FTE positions for ks that are associated with this project into fiscal year 25, as well as associated maintenance costs. The number of FTE positions remains constant at 56.0 FTE, and I would note that the budget request for fiscal year 25 includes $3.1 million, all from the State General Fund, for implementation of the legislative pay plan in accordance with current law. The remainder of the memo addresses those FTE positions and displays the actual revised and request expenditures.
Questions for Melissa or Tom on this one? Seeing none, we'll move on.
The next budget is that of the Legislative Coordinating Council. You'll have a memo from Tom that is dated September 22nd, 2023. The council's budget consists of two main portions: legislative administrative services and the operations of the council. You will see operating expenditures in the agency estimate for $833,600 from the State General Fund for fiscal year '24 and $771,397 for fiscal year 2025. Costs for salaries increased in accordance with the omnibus budget bill, and expenditures for fiscal year '24 are reflected in the revised budget. Costs for LCC meetings are included in the coordinating council budget, and there are no funds budgeted for special studies.
Questions? Seeing none.
Okay, and the budget of the Legislative Division of Post Audit. We should note here that the Legislative Post Audit Committee has reviewed the annual budget for approval and has recommended approval at the full committee level on October 10th. The budget summary you see is provided on page 1. The second page gives you all of those numbers and expenditures tables. For the revised fiscal year '24 budget is within the agency's appropriation and allows it to fully fund the agency. About $4.1 million was appropriated to LPA for fiscal year '24, and based on the revised budget, there will be a surplus of nearly $600,000, and those budgeted funds will be lapsed back to the general fund. The budget also sets aside funds for contractors to assist with performance audits and evaluations of economic development tax incentives. The requested '25 budget is $3.4 million and is nearly identical to that of the fiscal year '24 revised budget. The budget is slightly below the '24 revised budget because it includes less funding for contractors.
Questions for Melissa or Chris? Seeing none, I think we're ready to move on. Are we ready for Gordon?
There we go. I made a joke about JG not being here, things would go quicker. And I think Susan indicated, yeah, says Gordon. And so I think the concern being that I talk more than JG, but I'll try not to do that. I wanted to briefly go over the reviser's budget, and I'll give a summary first, and then there's a couple points I wanted to raise. Number one, for FY '24 revised, we are not asking for anything above the approved budget, other than that shortfall adjustment that was mentioned earlier, and we're not asking for any additional FTEs. But for FY 2025, we are requesting additional funds, about $200,000. And let me touch base with you on why that's the case. There are two things I wanted to talk about, and one is printing. And I wanted to indicate to you that over the past 4 years, we've been able to greatly reduce our printing expenditures, and that has a lot to do with both capturing cost savings and then in addition reducing the number of volumes that we are publishing each year. And I want to take a quick moment to indicate that and to thank the Secretary of State's office, Secretary Schwab, Whitney Temple, and Laura Murphy, who've worked very hard and diligently to finally get accurate inventory counts of our statute books. It's their statutory obligation to sell and distribute the volumes, and we now have very accurate counts, and so that allows us to make good decisions on how many volumes that we order to be published. So I want to thank them and their staff. Additionally, I want to thank the state printer, Director Sharita Clifton and Dean Lopez, who have done a great job to seek out decreased costs for supplies. And in addition, they've developed methods so that we can actually order the books in batches as needed rather than all at once and hope we haven't ordered too many, too little to match supply and demand. So I want to thank both those agencies for their cooperation with me, and that's allowed us to reduce printing costs over the years. The second thing that I wanted to indicate has to do with salary and wages of my office and being competitive. I've talked to you all about this in the past. Number one, I found this summer and fall, we put out applications for attorneys in the office, and we did not get a good response. And we had 2 applications only. One wasn't qualified. And to a great extent, it's my opinion, based on some comparative analysis, that our starting salary is not competitive. And I'll just give you an example. The Attorney General's starting salary is 15% higher. The Public Defender's Office salary is 9 to 10% higher. The City of Topeka's starting attorney salary is 9% higher. And Johnson County's starting salary is 27% higher than ours. Additionally, although my office, the attorney, has been stable, the level of attorneys have been stable, in the last 3 years, I've lost 3 attorneys, all 3 to other governmental entities. And if you add in, I lost one about 8 years ago, 4 of them, and they've all gone to other governmental entities. The Johnson County, the City of Olathe, the City of Lawrence, and Judicial Branch, and another state. I think money is a big issue on this, and so I just lost an attorney just last week, and that was kind of it for me. And that's why I'm coming to you right now, because this is a tough job. All the staff agencies have a tough job because of the requirements of the session and the pressure and the time constraints, and it's not an easy job. And to bring people in, whether it's my agency or research, and train them, I hate to lose them after we've developed good people, and then we lose them, and especially if we lose them to another governmental entity, and the great deal of the reason is simply cost. So what I'm proposing is a plan to immediately increase our starting salary, and I'm going to reissue our offer of employment back out there, and to try to match our other state agencies like the Attorney General. And also, the person I just lost is 9.5 years. And so I also want to do something for comparables in the 5 to 10, 0 to 5, 5 to 10 and above range. Jill Walters in my office has done a great deal of research to get competitive comparisons for us. And so I think this is critical both for me as a manager, but also for you to get the kind of service that you need under the circumstances. And I am fortunate enough with the way things are with our budget that I can absorb the cost of this program this fiscal year, but I am asking for assistance for FY 2025 and possibly beyond. As I've done the last 4 years, if I have money at the end of the year, I return it. And that's what I would, pledge to you. And so when we revisit this, I believe that we have enough money to carry this proposal. I think it's appropriate, honestly, while I'm here, I got your attention. I think the other state legislative agencies are worthy of your consideration as well, including your staffs, your leadership staffs. I want our folks, our legislative staffs across the board to be competitive, and especially, with other governmental agencies. So that's where I'm at. I'm very passionate about it, and I look for your support.
Questions for Gordon. Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 questions, one for Gordon and the other for whoever. What exactly are you asking? And Mr. Chairman, are we able to do that today?
What I'm asking is for you to approve my FY24 revised budget, which is not asking for anything, but then my proposed 2025 budget is an increase over that of $200,000 in order for me to effectuate that. So what I'm looking for is a motion to support that along with the other agency budgets.
We can do that today? I would make such a motion.
I've got a motion and a second. I did have requests for questions before we got there, so we've got the motion and second, but we'll hold Vice President Wilburn.
Thank you, Mr. President. You heard Mr. Self talk about this, and every one of us up here have either been chairman or in a leadership position. We know how critical, how important it is to have seasoned, competent staff, and I think we should get behind this 100%. So I strongly support this motion.
Minority Leader Sykes.
Thank you. Just a question, and I appreciate that. I also am completely behind this, but do you feel like you need an additional FTEs as well to help with kind of that? And I know session is very different from when we're not in session and the demands on those, but just kind of looking at the course, and I know trying to get amendments and bills, it's really a struggle sometime. So is that something else that we should be looking at?
I very much appreciate that. I think where I'm at on that right now, I'm comfortable with the number of FTEs that I have. I just want to fill all my positions. I would, you know, we're also developing the new bill drafting system, which I think will be instrumental in helping us meet time crunch needs for you all. But at this point, I think I'm comfortable. I may have different advice for you a year from now.
And just to follow, and you do believe that you can absorb this within your current funds that are available?
In FY 2024, I believe that, and with the funding I've asked for, I believe I can for 2025. And of course, if I find out differently, I'll be back.
And I guess that's what my request is. If you are looking at this and you can't do that, I think you should come back to us, because I think this is a priority for us and for our state. And we want, I mean, our revisers are our backbone in here, so thank you.
I appreciate that.
Further questions? Seeing none, I have a motion by Representative Miller, seconded by the Speaker, if I'm articulating right, to support our lead reviser's plan on that. So discussion on the motion. Hearing, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. I will now entertain a motion to approve the other budgets that were presented, and then we can do that in a single motion. Moved by the Speaker to approve the legislative presented budgets, seconded by Vice President Wilburn. Discussion. Seeing, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Item 5, consideration and approval of pricing for the Kansas statutes annotated. And we go, Gordon, back to you for that one.
Thank you. The statutes require that the LCC set the prices for the statute books and the supplements, and we consider this each year, and it's required by law to base that on the cost of printing and binding such volumes, and we're not looking to make a profit. And I work with the printing plant, as I indicated before, and try to develop cost savings, and we're able to offer that this year in our recommendations. The 2023 prices would be $30 for a bound volume and $10 for supplements.
Discussion, questions? Seeing none, to have a motion on the pricing. Move to approve by Speaker. I have a second. Second by Minority Leader Sykes. Discussion? Seeing, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 6, consideration and approval of legislative branch holidays for calendar year 2024. Gordon.
You have in front of you a handout, and this is the recommended holidays for 2024. It is the same as the recommended 2023 holidays that were approved by the legislature, except for it includes an additional holiday in the Juneteenth on June 19, 2024 as an additional legislative holiday.
Questions for Gordon? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Minority Leader Sykes. Do I have a second? Seconded by Speaker Hawkins. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Committee, we've reached the end of our agenda. We are adjourned.